Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits. Real talk, I hope it finds you in fantastic spirits. We got some things we got to get into, but again, another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to every single last one of y'all. I'm just going to give you guys a fair warning. I will be on a little bit later on tonight for a very specific reason, and I will let you guys know what that is here in just a minute. But before we get into all of that, all right, before we get into all of that, do me a solid, okay? Do me a solid. Hit that like button down below. Crush it, do what it do, please, and thank you. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. That would be amazing. Don't forget to hit that follow button if you're watching on Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble. I'm on all those platforms, so show some love. Hit that follow button over there. Be sure to subscribe here on my main channel, The Pascal Show. Go to my secondary channel because we've been putting some things out here lately. And just a little bit ago, I uploaded a new video. Some more Ali Carter stuff, which is insane. So be sure to go over to the Pascal Show clips, subscribe. And Keisha, no, this is not old news. This is very new news. I'll explain here in just a minute. So don't forget to subscribe on both channels. Make sure you hit that notification bell for both of them whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because it is random. And I'm working on two different channels. So your boy's working hard and burning the midnight oil sometimes. All right. Of course, if you want to support the channel, hit that join button down below. Become a member. That'd be greatly appreciated. Check out my Patreon and my locals because I have both channels, or I have both pages if you want to support even further. And of course, go check out PascalMerch.com. We got some really, really great stuff. And I got a GoFundMe going on, raising some money for, excuse me, a holiday show that's coming up here very, very soon. So please check out that Patreon, or sorry, check out that GoFundMe. I'm sorry. And support if you can. No pressure if you can, but support if you can. All right, guys, we got to get into this. We got some things we have got to get into. And no, this is not old news. This is very, very brand new news. And I'll explain here in just a minute, all right? But first, here it is. Well, let me just say this now. I am going to be on a little bit later on tonight. It's going to be kind of a late show. So to the mods, lo siento. If you can't make it, it's okay. Don't hurt yourselves just to be on a live. But I will be on a little bit later on tonight. The reason why I say this is because Ashley Banfield of Banfield on News Nation is having an exclusive interview with a victim that has not, a Diddy accuser that has not been seen ever. She is stepping forward and she is speaking out on the allegations that she has put in this wild, mind-blowing lawsuit that we went through just a few weeks ago. Now, just a quick reminder of who what this situation is, what these allegations entail. Remember, this is the one where she claims that she was viciously attacked by a gang of people. Some were women, some were men. This happened after she insulted Diddy, claiming that he had something to do with Tupac's demise. She knew the guy. She knew, like, she was on a date or something like that, or hanging out with this guy that was claiming he was friends with Diddy. He FaceTimed Diddy, I'm sorry, with his phone and basically said, hey, see, I know Diddy. And apparently she was like, I ain't messing with him. You know, he's the one who took out Tupac. And I guess Diddy felt some type of way about this. Remember, a couple weeks later, she gets invited over to his home, the friend, Diddy's friend's home. She goes in there, and then she is viciously attacked by Diddy and a bunch of other people. She goes into some crazy, wild descriptions, like disturbing descriptions on what happened to her during that time. But then what's even wilder and even weirder is the things that happened after the crime happened. She's picking up her stuff. She can only find a few things. She tries to leave the house. Diddy is begging her to tell people that this was consensual. He calls up his own mom, Janice Combs, and allegedly Janice is on the phone, basically trying to convince her to say that it was consensual. Then there is some sort of conversation about Tupac. Somehow, Tupac's name gets brought up again. And then there's a guy in the room, his bodyguard, who also was involved in the crime on her. He pulls out his weapon and turns it on Diddy. Now, of course, I'm doing very, very broad strokes. We did a whole conversation where I read through the whole doggone thing. We went through it like crazy. I did reenactments and everything. All right, I should get a damn Oscar nom just for that, okay? But of course, there's the whole argument, or there's a conversation about basically this guy's like, what did you say about Tupac? And then, of course, more hell breaks loose. It turns into this wild thing. The bodyguard comes up to her at some point and says, don't worry, I'm an undercover cop. Yet he's the one who also SA'd her too. Then she goes out of the house. She makes a run for it. She actually slices Diddy in the stomach. She makes a run for it. She gets outside the house. That's when she finds out that the bodyguard is actually an undercover cop. Then all of a sudden, shots ring out. The car drives a black SUV drives off into down the street, leaving from the friend's house. And of course, she ends up going and spending the night in the actual house. She actually goes back into the house and spends the night in the house. The very house that she was inflicted these crimes, these unthinkable things. Of course, I have a lot of questions because it's such a wild document. It's wild allegations that I'm still trying to wrap my mind around myself personally. Even so, we saw a video, a clip from Ashley Banfield, where Ashley Banfield's going through the documents going, wait a sec, this doesn't make sense. This stuff. Can you explain to me why she went back to the house to sleep for hours over there? Can you explain that? Because that don't make no sense. So on and so forth. So tonight, she's having the exclusive interview on Banfield's show. So I got a little heads up. They gave me a little heads up to let you guys know that there is going to be an exclusive interview with Ashley Parham. That's her name too. Ashley Parham, the one of Diddy's accusers, an exclusive interview tonight on Banfield. Now, they usually put out clips of the interviews right after it airs. That's the reason why I will be on late to watch the clips with you guys as a family, because I most definitely I need to hear her explanation on everything. I need to hear what actually happened here, because it is wild what is being said in that lawsuit. I ain't never seen anything like that ever in the history of any lawsuit that we've ever read. It is wild, and it feels like something you'd see in a Tyler Perry movie. Has anybody been watching Beauty and the Black? Have you been watching Beauty and the Black? That's all I'm going to say. The beginning, what happens in the beginning, the car, another person, and how they find them. Yeah. Just Tyler Perry knows how to make everybody go, why? Why that? Why that? Okay. So, just so you guys know, tonight I'll be back on a little later on tonight. And there's so much that's going on. There's so many new pieces of information. There's so many interviews, etc. I know that there's a lot of interviews that need to be looked at. We are going to be looking at those too, trust and believe. But obviously the news cycle just keeps on news cycling. So I'm doing as much catch up as I can with everything. So I may be back on in a few hours just to watch and go over another interview that we've missed, a few days ago too. But nonetheless, last night, Stephen A. Smith had an interview with Shyne. Now, Shyne is the guy who allegedly took the fall for Diddy in that infamous New York City nightclub pew-pewing, where Netanya was hit in the face, a victim was hit in the face, all kinds of craziness went down, right? And this is the incident that broke up Diddy and J-Lo. If you don't remember, Diddy and J-Lo parted ways after all this stuff. But now he's got a documentary series, or if it's a documentary, I don't know if it's a documentary or docu-series, but it's a documentary nonetheless that's on Hulu right now, talking about his whole thing from going from hip hop, being Bad Boy's protege to being incarcerated to now living his life as a politician. It's very, very interesting. Very interesting stuff. His whole life. I'm sure he's got a book out. And if he hasn't gotten a book out, talk to your ghostwriter and get a book out as soon as possible. But nonetheless, there's this documentary where he's telling his part, telling his side of the story to all these things. So he's been doing a lot of interviews as of late. And recently, not only was he on Tamron Hall, but he also was on Stephen A. Smith's show. Let's not forget Stephen A. Smith right here. Had an exclusive conversation with the man. And I'm kind of curious as to what he has to say about all this. I mean, I know he's been saying like he's making a deal with the devil. He's demonic. He is the devil himself, so on and so forth. But we've heard those names and we've heard those words before. Let's be completely real. We've heard those before. But it is very interesting when you get to see them straight up in these interviews, talking and staying it straight on. Straight on. But before we get into that, I want to share this too. Diddy's been saying, I guess his team is basically saying, stop slandering my name. I never set you up as a fall guy. Now, if Diddy turned to him and said, hey, I want you to take the fall, but I'll give you a couple mil and I'll make sure you're properly taken care of while you're in prison. That's one thing. But if something else happened here, then something else happened here. Now, let's take a look at this. I think this is just very interesting. So he's coming out swinging. Diddy's coming out swinging against artist Shyne's continuous media campaign that he was scapegoated in their 1999 situation, their trial. So his Shyne's recent supercharged run of interviews featured him as a quote unquote sacrificial lamb in a demonic plot in Diddy's legal team, but Diddy's legal team is slamming those claims once and for all. A rep for Diddy tells TMZ Hip Hop that Mr. Combs categorically denies Mr. Barrow's allegations including any suggestion that he orchestrated Mr. Barrow to, quote unquote, take the fall or sacrificed him by directing witnesses to testify against him. These claims are unequivocally false. Interesting, right? And there's Diddy and Shyne. Spokesperson continues, Mr. Combs was acquitted of all charges related to the 1999 Club New York incident and has consistently maintained his innocence. He cannot accept or condone any characterization of his actions as demonic or malicious. The rep also says Mr. Combs appreciates the path Mr. Barrow has pursued and wishes him continued success. It is unfortunate that Mr. Barrow, has chosen to revisit these allegations. Mr. Combs trusts the responsible journalism, that responsible journalism will weigh both the established legal outcomes and Mr. Combs' positive, long-standing support for those he has worked with. As you may know, Diddy signed Shyne to Bad Boy in the late 1990s. They pushed out hit records before the New York City situation, the New York City nightclub situation. The currently embattled mogul is, of course, reminding the public of the actual verdict. Okay, he took the stand in a 7-week trial that included 60 witnesses, 126 exhibits, and walked out of the courtroom with his innocence. Funkmaster Flex was firmly rooted in the hip-hop space at the time and ripped Shyne to shreds for lying through his teeth about being a quote-unquote fall guy, and he has no dog in this current fight. Meanwhile, Shyne has done plenty of high-profile interviews this week, ranging from Stephen A. Smith to Good Morning America for his forthcoming Hulu documentary, and didn't waste an opportunity to throw his former mentor under the bus. The two even reunited at a charity concert in London on November 8th, 2023, and even performed together. So yeah, Shyne's recollections aren't adding up for them. The stone-throwing saga will continue on November 18th when Shyne's doc is officially released. Now, again, what's very interesting about this whole thing, is that how can you sit there and be all cool and chill with him, and then 2 seconds later, as soon as he gets locked up, it's like, no, I was the fall guy. Damn it. He made me do these things and stuff. Do you see what I'm saying? So I get it. I could see why some people might look at this and go, you two-faced mother lover. I can see it. But maybe it's the keep your friends close and your enemies closer type of situation. Maybe that's what it was. And yeah, Osvaldo Guzman, it could be. Money. It could be that. Money. It could be that. But at the same time, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm good. We good, homie. We good. And then as soon as he gets locked up, you're like, I've been there the whole time just side-eyeing him. I hate his ass. Yeah, when I was shaking his hand during that time, it was with a sweaty palm. You know what I'm saying? It's like, something about it seems a bit odd. So I can see it. But at the same time, though, maybe it's a situation where he's like, I could finally say what I need to say, because I don't need to worry about him coming at me or his minions coming at me. Or he's riding this train because he knows that by sitting on the anti-Diddy train, and that he's, boo, Diddy boo, he's terrible kind of thing. He's a monster. He's the devil, right? That instantly people are going to go watch his documentary. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. Oh, let me jump on this train. Let me ride this train, the anti-Diddy train, because that's where it's all going to the money. It's all going to the money, too. Think about it. It's all going to the money. So why the hell not? I can't sit here and go, well, he was a good man to me. He fed me when I was hungry. He clothed me when I was cold. Y'all have it wrong about Diddy. But please go check out my new documentary that's about to be on Hulu, please. Thank you. No, it's not going to work. That's not going to work either. So maybe. I'm just asking both sides. I'm just looking at both sides of the fence because anything at this moment is possible, right? Anything is possible. But it is interesting, though. It is interesting nonetheless. But let us get into this interview. Okay, so Stephen A. Smith has a conversation with the man, Shyne. And again, you know, Diddy's team is basically saying what Shyne is saying out here doing this whole campaign. You know, he's doing his whole media circuit promoting his documentary. You know, for a fact, just looking on this, just real quick, just erring on the side, looking at both sides, okay? Sitting on the fence. One side, he could be sitting here going, he's finally locked up. I can finally be free and say what really went down. Or he's hopping on the other, or looking on the other side of the fence. He could literally be saying, if I don't promote this properly and err on the side of what the court of public opinion is swinging at, this documentary will never be seen. And I want to get my money back. And I want it to perform well. Think about that. That could be it too. Shoot, if Shyne was on this show, I'd want to ask him that too. Is there a possibility of saying these things just so you can continue to scoop the bag? Maybe. We just have to, we have to look at both sides. But I will say this too. Since what we've already been hearing about J-Lo and all that, I mean, we already knew she was carrying the pew-pew for Diddy. We already heard about Natanya and what she went through and the last thing she saw before a bullet entered her face. Real talk. She remembers Diddy having the pew-pew in his hand and pulling the trigger. That's what she remembers. That's what she remembers. So it's something to put into consideration for sure. But Mimi, thank you so much for the super sticker. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right. But let's get into this, shall we? Let's hear what he got to say. Let's check out this interview. It's got to be good, right?
Cut short when he was convicted in the 1999 high-profile shooting at Club New York with Sean Puffy Combs. After serving almost 9 years in prison, he's back with a compelling Hulu documentary called The Honorable Shyne, which details his compelling journey from prison to politics. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Stephen A. Smith Show, Moses Shyne Barrow. What's going on, big time? How are you, man? How's everything?
Yeah, I'm fine. I try to bring some of that warm weather with me from Belize to the Disney studios here in New York, but it's not really working out. Other than that, I'm managing. I remember my days in Brooklyn where I was prepared for this rigid weather, but I'm happy to be here with a legend such as yourself.
I was getting ready to say, stop lying to the American public. You know you had no chance in hell of bringing that warm weather to New York City. Ain't never been here. You know it ain't coming to Brooklyn. You know not the weather in New York, especially this time of year. You know that ain't coming, right?
I mean, New York weather is literally winter and then summer. That's literally all it is. It's winter and then summer. Winter. Summer's like short and then it's super hot, and then it's winter again. That's all it is. There's the fall is maybe for 2 seconds as well. It's like, summer, summer, fall, winter. You know what I mean? It's crazy. All right.
I tried, man. Listen, last week the weather was incredible. The weather was incredible. It was like in the 60s.
I feel you. I feel you. Look, man, let me get right into it with.
He said, well, let's not talk about the doggone weather. Can we get straight to it, please? Thank you.
First of all, I'm proud of you. Not only are you a politician, you look like a politician. Did you ever in your wildest dreams believe you'd be sitting here today as a politician talking to me and anybody else for that matter?
Well, I'd like to be specific. I'm the opposition leader of the Belize House of Representatives. So I'm not just a politician, elected representatives. I'm the opposition leader in the House of Representatives, which puts me in line to be the next prime minister of Belize. And, for me, I always knew that I was going to make an impact because I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to affect lives. I wanted to lead people in the right way, even as a young kid on the street with a gun in my waist, defending myself and defending my community. Everything that I was doing was geared towards a collective betterment. And if you listen to that first Shyne album, the very first words that I uttered in the intro is, "Dear America, I'm only what you made me, young, black, and crazy. Please save me." So that shows you where my mindset was at, speaking in those socio-conscious terms, pleading to the system to provide an alternative to the systematic oppression that, I as a youth and many other urban youth were facing at the time, and saying, listen, if you would build schools instead of prison, I'll stop living the way I'm living. That's what I was saying at 18 years old. So to fast forward to 46-year-old Shyne, who I've been politically active for the last 10 years, I have an opportunity to be the system. And that doesn't always happen. Jay-Z helped Obama become president. Beyonce tried to help the vice president, to
Kamala
make
Harris.
a big jump. But it doesn't always work out. You don't always have someone who can go from the spectrum of entertainment to actually the Oval Office or the Prime Minister's office in my case. And so in my work in the last 10 years, it was a smooth transition from singing about all that was wrong with the society I was living in to being the person that can provide solutions for all that is wrong. And I don't think it's a stretch to go from, an entertainer to a politician. Ronald Reagan did it. And I believe that all the musicians I grew up around, we were all community-oriented people. And that's what hip-hop does. We give back. We get there and we give back. So.
Not in Diddy's case. He did not, no. But especially if he's accused of doing what he's been doing, but he's being accused of what he's accused of doing. Nah, he's not giving back to the community. He's making the community worse. So, nah. Giving
back on the legislative level, to me, is just the evolution of hip hop.
It is special, no doubt. When I think about the Honorable Shyne, I'm thinking about this documentary. That is the title of it. And I find myself wondering, I'm guessing, why now? One would easily surmise it's because of what's happened to Sean Diddy Combs. Others would sit up there and look at it and say, it is election time after all. It seems the perfect opportunity for him to come out with something like this. How do you answer that question? Why now with this with this documentary?
I have been inundated with solicitations to do a documentary for the last 22 years. To be factual, Mark Wahlberg offered me like $1 million deal back in 2004, and I have that proposal. I could share it with you. I just was always looking for the right partner. I was just looking for the right partner, and it had to make sense fiscally because I'm a shrewd businessman. And it had to be the right partner. And being the right partner was not just a financial commitment. It was a story that we were going to tell. I didn't want to tell the Diddy story. I did not want to tell.
Why not?
Because that's not my story. My story is next prime minister of Belize. My story is power. My story is victory. My story is triumph over tragedy. That's my story.
But allow me to interject. Because you emanate from the hip hop community, it
Exactly.
is. I use this respectfully. It's a rags to riches story because I, like you, get upset when we're always highlighting, the rags to riches or the rags element of the rag to riches story, because everybody seems like every story is about that. But in your case, it's special because, as you highlighted, you're an opposition party leader. You're next in line to be the prime minister. And that is a huge, huge deal. It's one thing to all of a sudden, to go from rags to literally being successful and making money. Well, you did that in the 90s, okay? Because you were making millions in the 90s. But to be a politician, to be a leader, to be in line, to be the leader of a nation, I mean, that's something entirely different, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and that's the story. Unfortunately, I think I should have done a bio documentary maybe 10 years ago. And this should have been another documentary focused on my political life and the journey from maybe 10 years ago to now. But I just didn't do it, and that's why I said it was timely. But it was all about finding the right partners and people that understood. Like, when you look at this documentary, it's the first time in my life that I've relinquished creative control in any type of entertainment project, and I had to trust the people that I was working with. And it just doesn't happen like that. And when I found those partners, everything else just happens to be coincidence. 2 years ago, we signed a deal 2 years ago. We started shooting production maybe a year and a half ago. And all the other things that you see happening, I can't stop the world from happening. But, my story was bound to be told. And it's not like we just looked at what was happening and said, oh, come on, let's hurry up and tell the Shyne story. The Shyne story is overdue. And as I said, it was about finding the right partners. And with these partners that I have, Marcus Clark and the Disney people, Hulu, Landscape, Disney Plus, if you look at the documentary, I had no creative control, but the documentary doesn't tell the Diddy story. It's not a gotcha, sensational documentary in those terms of trying to exploit, his tragedy. It's talking about what I've been through, and obviously, we're forever linked. We're forever linked. I can never get away from that. I would prefer not to talk about it.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. When I first saw the documentary, one of my first objections was, why are you focusing so much on the trial? Why, we need to focus more on Belize. Let's focus more on how I made the album. Let's focus more on the creativity. Let's get more people to talk about what a great musician I was. But unfortunately, a part of the story is the pain. A part of the story is the sorrow. A part of the story is the defeat, is the devastation, and we just can't escape that.
Let me, because, and when I use this word educate, I mean respectfully, because obviously you're an educated brother, you know what you're talking about. I'm talking about from a media perspective. From a media perspective, let me educate you on this level. Diddy's story will be told. And no matter what story is going to be told about Diddy, there's a potpourri of things to talk about him for months and years to come. When some folks are talking, and when folks are talking to Shyne and they're talking about Shyne, they want to know about Shyne himself, from his perspective, what he experienced. So tell us, what exactly did you experience? People are going to go to December 27, 1999. They're going to look at things like that. They want to know what happened to Shyne himself. In your words, what happened to you?
Now, let me pause that, because of course, you got to understand. I mean, I'm sorry. The reason why I did that whole okay is because he's like, oh, this was not by my design. I didn't do this. I had no creative control. But isn't it convenient that all this stuff is being put out now? So you had plans on having this documentary come out right around the same time that Diddy's getting thrown in jail? Or did you guys expedite things a little bit quicker so that it's sellable? Because if he waited 6 more months, honestly, 6 more months wouldn't have changed a damn thing, because it's still on the wave of Diddy. Diddy's still locked up until he's not locked up, or until he's put up for good in prison. So to me, for him to be, oh yeah, let's I had no control over it dropping around this time. It's just a coinky dink. I don't agree with that. I don't believe that. I don't. Even so, you're listening to Stephen A. Smith, and he's like, okay, we could talk about, we could wax political all day long. We can. But we're here to talk about that stuff. We're here to talk about Diddy and your experience. with Diddy. So why don't we get to that? That's the reason why he's on the show. And honestly, I will say this too. As much as he's sitting here going, I had no control over the creative process, getting this whole thing together, so on and so forth. I don't blame them. I don't blame him. If you're putting together a documentary, and if he really truly was shooting for a year and a half, all this content, and they got it all done, it's all in the can, Diddy gets arrested, he's involved in one of the biggest tragedies, one of the biggest tragedies that Diddy was involved in as well. What do you think his producers are going to say? We need to make this money back. So maybe we do expedite this and get this done quicker. The Diddy train not going to be here forever. So we need to strike while the iron is hot. But the question still remains for me is, if he has no problems with the diddler, if he had no issues with him whatsoever, like what they claim in that article saying, stop slandering my name and all that, why would he go out here and say that then? Just ride on the whole, it was a terrible time. Can't believe that happened, so on and so forth. You can say, just watch the documentary and you'll hear my thoughts on everything that went down. But that's not what's going on here. He's been going on countless interviews and ripping Diddy to shreds. Again, let me pause this. Let me time out real quick, because I'm not Team Diddy. Hail to the no. I am not Team Diddy. I am beyond that. But at the same time, I feel a little Stephen A. Smith starting to take over how I'm talking to you. But here, except I'm not screaming into the microphone. But here's the thing. I'm in no way, shape, or form a Diddy supporter. I am not. You guys know that. You look at the countless videos that we've covered over the past 2 months on this mother-loving case. But I am also realistic. And I also think and I also use my brain. I think independently and try to think critically. So when you see something like this, and if they're literally rubbing elbows and having a great old time, and they were all Gucci back, just not even a year ago or a little bit over a year ago, why would he be suddenly singing a different tune right now? All I'm saying is that's just something you have to think about. It's very politician-y. If you really think about it. Wow. Oh, wow. I got to do that. Think about it. In the borders, they're just terrible. And I don't understand. I don't understand what's going on with the borders, right? Drill, baby, drill. Or it'll be like, the riot is doing this, and this. They're terrible, so on and so. Think about all the divisive BS that was being put out there to sound good. Vote for me because I like Snickers candy bars. And everyone's cool with it now. It's a popular thing. I got hot sauce in my bag. You know what I'm saying? Come on out. Megan Thee Stallion and twerk. Twerk for democracy. Come on, Glorilla. Rap for that democracy. Because we need the vote. We need the vote. So maybe he's just turning on the political charm. It's something to think about. Yes, Megan Thee Stallion. Twerketh. She did twerk. Did the whole thing the wobbly. Come on now. Okay, it's just something to think about. So is he just going with the flow? Because he could answer all of this, talk about all of this, and just be like, just watch the documentary. I have nothing to say about that, but we do address it in the documentary and then just let it be what it is. Okay. Anyway, moving on. I can see why some people would be side-eyeing this, but well, I mean, he's telling his truth. So just let him do his thing, I guess, right? Hamburger.
In my words, I said so many years ago, back in 2001, that was my first double XL cover. I had about 6. And the cover is Death Before Dishonor. It was me talking about not snitching on Diddy and not getting him in trouble to get myself out of trouble. I said that 20 odd years ago. So I've always maintained in every interview I did until recently when I healed and I moved on and I forgave. But for years, I was saying, what a creep I thought he was and how he destroyed my life. And at one point, I thought he was the devil. But
hold on. By the way, if he was saying that back in the day, I need to know. I want to see that footage too, or the doc, or the article. I do want to see that. He's saying I've been saying that for years, that he was demonic and that he was the devil, and what he did was was wrong, so on and so forth. It's interesting. Interesting.
Because of the power of Diddy, which is so loud as far as a pop culture icon, nobody listened. So I moved on and I pivoted my life to healing, to forgiveness, and to taking accountability for what I can control. And I can't control what someone did to me decades ago. I can't control them not wanting to pay reparations, not wanting to make right. That people say, oh, Diddy gave me millions to go to jail. Nothing. Probably made 2 what I thought were offensive contributions over the last 20-something years, which led to a breakdown in the relations. But I moved on. So yes, was I the sacrificial lamb? Of course. Did I take the fall? Yes. There was no quid pro quo. There was not, listen, we're going to have $10 million waiting for you when you come out. I'll just do the right thing. I did that on my own. And I've been saying that. It's not anything new. But in the documentary, just like in this interview, I can't say to you, Stephen A., I don't want to talk about Diddy. Let's talk about me becoming the prime minister. I can't talk about only what I want to talk about. I have to be fair and transparent to the audience. But I've been saying the same thing if you do your research. But listen, he also mentored me in the year or so we spent working together to make one of the greatest hip hop albums ever. I learned a lot as far as being an entrepreneur, as far as being, a disruptor and a trailblazer. And so I got exactly what I went to the University of Bad Boy with Diddy as professor when it comes to entertainment and even things that I've been able to carry with me as far as work ethic, as far as, manifesting the greatness that you want to achieve. There were some positives, but obviously going to jail for 10 years when that could have been avoided, or someone that, my mom entrusted, her 19-year-old son, that they would do right by me, to send me to prison when we could have avoided that. There's nothing we can ever do to change that. And so when I'm telling the story, I can't whitewash that. I can't sanitize that. That's not necessarily the story I want to tell. So I hope that the next documentary, the next movie I do will be about, my rise to become prime minister.
Okay, hold on. So yeah, 10 years is crazy, but let me just say this. So you mean to tell me that, wait, so then what actually happened? See, that's the thing. What is going on here? What actually happened? Then say what actually happened. If you're not the fall guy, then that must mean fill in the blanks, right? If you're not the fall guy, you still serve time. Does that mean that you were the one that pulled the trigger? And you were the only one that pulled the trigger? I think that's very important information to get out. Now, I understand that he's running for office and all that stuff, so he's got to be very careful. He's got to be very diplomatic about what he says about his past. But at the same time, if he did his time, he did his time. So I think this is interesting that this would happen, and then he just kind of, I don't know. This is just very. He is answering in the best way he can, but at the same time, I'm seeing him painting himself into a corner a little bit. So I'm going, okay. So did you do it? Are you taking full accountability for it all? Or is Diddy really also involved? Did J-Lo really carry in the pew-pew for Diddy? Then he turned to her and he goes, hand me the piece. What actually happened here? You see what I'm saying? This is the moment when he should be saying some things, right? Because it's almost like he keeps talking and he knows he's painting himself into a corner and he's trying to get out of that corner by talking more. Does that make sense? At least that's what I'm seeing.
When you heard, and I want to move on from this because I'm transitioning to who you are. I want to be very, very clear. I'm not going to be unfair to you and just focus on this. I'm transitioning to who you are and where you stand right now. But I'm just trying to paint a picture. When you heard them sentence you to prison for 10 years, could you take us back to that moment and what kind of effect you thought that would have on you at that moment in time?
I was devastated, but I'm such an eternal optimist that I just kept thinking, I'm going to get a bail. I'm going to get a bail. I'm going to get the judge to give me a bail pending appeal, which is what Tupac got. When Tupac had his case, Death Row was able to get him out on bail pending his appeal. And so I just kept living every day with hope that I'd get a bail pending appeal or I'd have a successful appeal and get out. And I never gave up hope. And I was very spiritual. I was a Orthodox Jew. I'm still spiritual. I'm not as observant as I used to be. Still rap the film, still observe Yom Kippur and all the high holidays and Shabbat. Right. But I was always optimistic. But listen, the first night in prison, I got on my knees and I cried and I said to God, listen, I'm not even going to question you because I didn't question you when I was driving that Bentley last week. I didn't question you when I was driving that Ferrari. I didn't question you living on the 51st floor of the Trump Towers, which is where I was living at the time. This is before MAGA and all that stuff. I didn't question you when I sold 1 million records, going from a poor kid in Belize that didn't even have a toilet system and used to have to take the waste bucket to the canal. I never questioned you how you took me from that to a millionaire at the age of 18 to one of the most popular rappers in America and the world. I didn't say, well, why me, God? So I'm not going to say, why me, God, now. All I'm going to ask you is to give me the ability to endure this, the same way that you gave me the ability to make it through everything I made it to this point and to accomplish the things that I accomplished. I felt this was my biggest test to date. And the same way God blessed me to be able to not just survive, but to thrive through all of the adversities up to that point, I knew that God would be able to give me the power to get through this. And so I did that every day. So I was present every day. I never closed my eyes and tried to get away from what I was facing because I knew instinctively, I knew that it's just like if you want to win a world championship, whether it's baseball, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, it's grueling. The guys that win the chips are the guys that don't go to the clubs when they're, traveling on the road. It's the guys that are in the arena practicing. It's the guys that don't sleep because they're practicing. It's the guys that go through excruciating training to make sure that they're conditioned, for the championships. And so for me, I looked at what I was going through as me graduating to the next level. Whether I was convincing myself and I was being delusional, it worked because I did graduate and I am on the next level.
When did you begin studying Judaism? That was in prison, correct?
I became spiritual in a monotheistic way before I was incarcerated. So I always believed in monotheism, and that's why I changed my name to Moses, because Moses was always my hero. Moses was a person that was...
It is interesting that he found Judaism in prison. It's very interesting. But, there's plenty of people who have converted to many different religions while being incarcerated. And he was incarcerated for a long time, too. Let's not forget that. 10 years is a long time. All right. That's a long ass time. That's a long time. So let me continue on, because I want to pull up something else here. because it is interesting. And it's still with Shyne, but I want to show a piece of the Tamron Hall interview, because I do think it is nonetheless very interesting as well. So hold on, let me do that and cover up that crap. Okay. Hold on, I'm pulling this up.
Nine years in prison stemming from that infamous nightclub shooting that changed his life forever. His co-defendant, Sean Combs, was acquitted of all charges. This is an exclusive conversation. That point really stuck out. I never heard you say it.
Yeah.
That you were the fall guy.
Well, that's the interesting thing. I believe that,
By the way, he says that he's the fall guy in the documentary trailer. That's what they just played. You didn't see it because I didn't want to play it because of, copyright issues and all that stuff. But it is interesting that he says and claims in the interview or in the documentary, even in the trailer of the documentary, that he is the fall guy, that he was the fall guy for this situation. And now we're hearing her even bring that out. Like, you said that you are the fall guy. So let's hear what they got to say.
Power of Diddy, the entertainer, the person that dominated pop culture, was so loud for so long that no one heard myself and my mom and my supporters when we were crying about our lives being destroyed and devastated by Diddy. You look at that, that's one of my first magazine covers. Well, probably my second or my third.
It says hip hop's most wanted.
And they really didn't mean that I was on the run. They meant that everybody wanted to sign me. So it was like a double entendre.
It was, but then it became. So this is when everyone wanted you.
I was already incarcerated, and they were offering me millions of dollars.
What you talk about I didn't know that you're incarcerated, Rikers Island, and there's a bidding war because, as one of the people, I think Nori said in the documentary, that you now had this alleged shooting, this criminal case, and it made you to the music industry authentic, that the industry was looking for that.
I think Nori was talking about the bidding war that took place before I actually signed my first record deal. And then after all of the tragedies befell me and I was incarcerated, I had another pandemonium that took place in the music industry, and Jay-Z was coming to see me in his Maybach on Rikers Island, and Dr. Dre was calling me to sign. So I've been very fortunate to have people after me. But if you read this interview, which came out in, I think, 2001 or 2004, and I think that's 2004, that's a 2004 interview. But this interview and the interview in 2001, I always said, that Diddy snitched on me, that he threw me under the bus, and that I was a sacrificial lamb. But, that's 26 years ago.
26 years ago.
So people don't remember, and I have moved on. So you asked why. This is more of a celebration than, dancing on Diddy's grave or wanting to even connect myself
in the documentary,
to him.
In the documentary, you use this story, and I thought it was beautiful, about a baby turtle. You see the turtle on the sand, and it's hatched and it's trying to get to the ocean. And if you pick it up, it drowns because its legs aren't strong enough to swim. Yeah. And you talk about so much of your life, you needed to build up your strength so that you wouldn't drown.
Absolutely.
Going back to this situation with Sean Combs, you're on the show with me, 2021. I turn on the BET Awards. You're performing with Sean Combs.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the part where I'm going, what's up with that? So if he's been out here saying all kinds of things, that he set me up or he made me the fall guy, all that stuff, then why in 2021 would he be on the same stage with him going ziggity bobbity, ziggity, 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 whoa? You know what I mean? Like, explain that. So I'm glad Tamron Hall is asking that question right now, dagnabbit. Sure.
I said, he's doing a power move, because then I saw the flag of Belize come down.
right.
And I said, this is not about Bad Boy. This is about him showing the world.
It's about Belize.
But then there's a clip of Sean Combs calling you his brother.
Yeah.
And people are questioning the relationship.
I wish I was his brother in 2000 when we were on trial. I wish.
I don't know why that sudden eruption of applause just came out. I can see a couple chuckles and a laugh, but like suddenly everyone's like, yes, yes. Where did that come from? Oh my God. Somebody hit somebody slept on the applause button. That's what happened. They're like, oh shoot. How do you turn this off? How do you turn this? It's on a timer. Damn. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. I wish he was, calling him his brother in 2000 as well. But at the same time, it's crazy. It It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, guys. It doesn't.
I wish I was his brother for the last, 26 years when, my mom, who is here with me, never got any assistance. He never helped to dry her tears.
Why did you agree to go on with him at the BET?
Because I moved on. So you don't live in those spaces. The documentary was very, the documentary was very emotionally draining. Yeah. But part of what I owe to your audience, which is like one of the most lit, is that what the young people say? the most lit.
He said the audience. I said they came because they want to hear you.
You guys are incredible.
They're incredible.
This is like I've done Madison Square Garden, Nassau Coliseum, BT. To walk out is incredible. You guys had me
because I think one of the things about my audience in Tampa, they want to know the truth. They play no games.
And that's why the documentary had to take me back to those places. Because you can't tell the story. You can't say, hey, Shyne is the next prime minister of Belize. He's the opposition leader of the House of Representatives in Belize, and he's done this great turnaround without showing all of the failures, without showing all of the torture, without showing all of the pitfalls.
I mean, I get it. I get the whole, thing, but at the I get the reason of the breakdown, but at the same time, it's like it's not making sense. Because if just a few years ago, Puff, Diddy, whatever you want to call him, is referring to him as his brother, that shows to me like they have moved on. But then now, present day, he's still out here saying, yeah, I was the fall guy. He screwed me over, so on and so forth. So that's the part that I'm like, is this all for show? Is this all just to sell the documentary? Or, because here's the other thing too. Guys. Because he says, yeah, because I've moved on. Really, you moved on? Oh, okay. Didn't notice that when you're saying that you're still talking about being the fall guy and that you were, dealing with a demonic man and a devil and all that. You see what I'm saying? I'm not sitting here saying that I don't believe him, but I also see that there's some sort of political agenda behind this, y'all. Think about it. We're not born yesterday. Okay, we were born during the day, but we weren't born yesterday. Now were we, ladies and germs? So instantly I go, okay, you're out here saying that now, but why were you out there doing this? Why were you out there? Why were you there? Why were you on the stage? If everything was not cool, if you're saying it's over and you're done with it, then why are you still out here promoting it even 3 years later? As such, it just doesn't make sense. Like I said, it just doesn't make sense to me. I know there's somebody out here going to be like, "Well, Pascal," and that's fine. That's fine. That's up to y'all. But at the same time, real talk, it seems a bit disjointed, inconsistent. How's that? If it's like we moved on and we're better for it, and we buddies now, because you heard him. He's like, man, I wish we were cool back then too. So it doesn't sound like they were cool at all. So why be on that stage? An opportunity just to feel, to know what it feels like to be back on the stage again, to shine again. See what I did there? Hey, I'm just curious.
To show everything.
So you were in Belize and the news broke of this video involving Sean Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura.
Yeah.
She'd filed a lawsuit, an explosive lawsuit. The world started to hear these details. At the time you posted on your social media, I vehemently denounced the repugnant behavior of Sean Combs. I want absolutely nothing to do with the people who engage in this pattern of diabolical behavior. My prayers are with Cassie and all of the victims. And then there was a federal lawsuit that was filed by a producer who claimed that Sean Combs had gone around bragging about bribing witnesses and jurors. The victim that night at the nightclub shooting, Natanya Rubin, has always said it was Sean Combs who shot her. Mm-hmm. You have always said you were innocent.
Yes.
You have never said Sean Combs fired the gun. Mm-hmm. Why?
Well, I didn't see him fire the gun, and I'm not going to lie. Certainly, even if I don't believe in getting my friends in trouble, but at this point, I'm not going to make up anything to sensationalize my narrative because I don't feel I need to do that. If Diddy was not in, if Diddy was not incarcerated right now, my story would still be incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Right? The entire intent of the documentary was to celebrate life. And the problem I think some of us as human beings have is we want sunshine without rain. We don't appreciate the perfection of balance, right? You see, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. That's balance, and that's what we need in our lives. And so the complexity of evolution is going through all these different spots and then getting to the point where I'm at right now, where I don't hate anyone. I don't blame anyone. No, I don't feel any joy. I go to Brooklyn every day to use the mikveh. And I don't feel happy like, Diddy's in federal custody. I prefer God to make me a multi-billionaire and grow the GDP, grow the GDP of Belize to 100 billion and allow me to do amazing things for the people in Belize as the next prime minister. That's my karma. That's what I pray to God for. Someone's failure could never, ever, ever make me succeed.
He's got a point there. Okay. He's got a point there. No one's failure will ever make another person succeed. Truly. He's got a point. Unless you're in a race. Okay. Unless you're running and that person falls. Yeah, you're going to win that race. But other than that, comparison is the thief of joy. Let's not forget that. And it's true. So I can see his point as far as that goes. But at the same time, though, it is a bit interesting, just everything that he is saying revolving around, like, it's like, he's a snake, he's the devil, he made me the fall guy. Then, we cool out here, ziggity boppy, ziggity, ziggity, whoa, we all good now. And then now he's like, I'm running for office and trying to be the Belizean Obama. So vote for me. I approve of this message. And yet he's still a monster. He's a devil. He's demonic. And he made me the fall guy. So it's kind of like, okay, well, which one is which? Are you on this side or are you on that side? What's going on here? So I could see even Tamron, and I know these are all scripted questions. They all got the same old questions. They all know the same old stuff, right? But at the same time, is it 110% because of what he did, or is he using this as an opportunity to sell his show? Because you got to remember, the more people who see it, the more opportunities he can get those votes and get to that place in that political, in that place that he's trying to be elected for. You see what I'm saying? The closer he can get his political gains. But at the same time, it does make you wonder what the heck is going on here. I don't know. It just seems like it's like they're hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. And I get it. I'd feel some type of way if I was made the fall guy about something. While I'm locked up for 10 years, during those 10 years, this guy's having, not only is he criming like crazy, but he's having the time of his life, living the lap of luxury, making huge gains and making money. But at the same time, I don't know. I like I said, it's an I don't know, guys. I just don't know. I feel some type of way about the interviews. I need to hear more. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think I need to hear more. Anyway, guys, that is the show. I appreciate you guys showing up and being a part of the conversation. I'll be back on in a couple hours, and then we have a late night show because we are definitely watching that interview with Banfield and that Diddy accuser, because that one I have so many questions about that one, and that one's going on tonight. They will be on live Okay, that interview will be live on Banfield on News Nation, so make sure you go over there and check it out. It'll definitely be worth the watch. But then, if you miss it, you can watch it with me. All right, but definitely go check it out on your telly. Check it out. I think Banfield's 9:00 Central Standard Time, 10:00 Eastern Standard Time, if I'm correct. So I don't know if that interview is taking over the whole show or if it's just taking a segment of the show. But I feel like this one's big enough that could take up a good portion of the show. So be on the lookout for it. Hopefully they'll have some clips out later on tonight so we can watch them together as a family, because it's definitely something we don't want to miss for sure. Okay? Yeah. Ziggity boppy, ziggity, 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 whoa. Yo! Hit that like button down below, please, and thank you. Hit that like button, hit that reaction button. If you're watching on those other platforms, make sure you hit that follow button. Follow me on all those platforms. Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble. Show some love, hit that follow button. Show some love, hit the follow button. All right, and hit that subscribe button down below here and go over to my secondary channel, The Pascal Show Clips. Go subscribe over there, please and thank you. Hit that join button down below, become a member. Check out my Patreon and my locals. Check those two out, and check out PascalMerch.com. And also check out my GoFundMe page. Please and thank you. We got some great stuff over there. Trying to work on a big Christmas special for all y'all. So I will be talking to you guys very, very soon. We got some other things we're going to be talking about, so be on the lookout. I might be on in a couple hours before the late night show. Okay? So anyway, it is time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. We'll talk soon. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.